This is your introduction to cruises, Cruising 101. Hi, I'm Dawn Kidd, owner of Kidd Travel since 2018. I am also a certified cruise counselor with CLIA, the Cruise Lines International Association, an association that represents about 95% of worldwide both ocean and river cruising. And I'm also an ASTA verified travel agent with the American Society of Travel Advisors. I had to take a very strict course on legal and ethical implications of the travel industry. So let's jump in. You're thinking about taking a cruise. You've never done it before, or you haven't done it in a very long time, and you're feeling a bit unsure. So let's talk about some of the basics that you need to know now. The first step is choosing a cruise. Let's be honest, not all cruise lines are the same. Each one has its own personality as much as the people around you. And if, like people, you try to hang out with the wrong one for 7 days, you're going to end up disappointed. Not all of the ships in one line are equal either. Each one of those has a personality, a size, a newness, different amenities. And again, choosing the wrong one can leave you very disappointed. One of the biggest errors that I see people making is that they look at price and not value. Please remember to base your choices on value, not on price. What are you getting for the money, and not what is the bottom line? It doesn't mean that you're going to spend more, but really think about what you actually have to have on the cruise and what you don't have to, and make sure that you're looking at the whole picture. And finally, get some help. A travel agent is not going to cost you extra. As a matter of fact, oftentimes we can get you perks and so forth that you wouldn't get by booking directly online. So getting help in this situation would be the smart move. One of the biggest misconceptions that I find people have about cruises is that people think they are entirely all inclusive. While your floating hotel, your meals, your entertainment, your snacks, your basic beverages are included, there are definitely some things that are not. And this is where value and price comes into play. Some things that are typically not included that people sometimes mistake that it is included are drink packages. Yes, there are some lines that include drink packages, and there are some that do not. So make sure when you're comparing Cruise A and Cruise B, you do compare what it includes. Very few cruises include the airfare and or the pre-night hotel. There are a few luxury lines that do, but for most lines, that is not something that's included and you do need to budget it. Shore excursions. Again, there are some luxury river lines that include all of the shore excursions. There are lines that will give you a credit towards some shore excursions, but for the most part, those are up to you. If you really need to cut your budget back, please ask your travel agent and they can find you some things to do that are low or no cost. Wi-Fi is something that can be very expensive on a cruise. And in today's world, we sort of think that is a right. It's not. And it is expensive for the cruise lines to maintain that. Please understand any Wi-Fi that you get on board will be much slower than it is on land. That means that even if you're paying the top dollar for their streaming package at certain times of the day, you're not going to be able to watch YouTube and movies. And the final thing is gratuities. Sometimes you can find those included, but for the most part, you do have to budget for that. And it's typically done as a per person, per day charge that will hit your credit card on the last day of the cruise. But the nice thing is, this means you do not have to walk around with a pocket full of small bills. They will simply charge your card at the end and distribute it to every waiter, bar staff, cabin steward, and person that you worked with. They'll take care of it all for you and make life super easy. The next thing that we should probably talk about that you need to understand before you even book that cruise is that there are certain documents that are needed. We always recommend cruising with a passport. Though it's possible to cruise without one, if you are injured in port or you miss the ship, you're stuck in a foreign country without a passport, which can cause its own hiccups. However, most closed loop cruises, in other words, a cruise that leaves from one port in the US and returns to that same port, you can cruise with a state issued ID with your picture on it and an official birth certificate. That's not the one that you get from the hospital. That's one given by the state or the town. They typically have either a raised or imprinted seal on them. If you have any questions, we can help you with that. If you are traveling with children under 18 but not traveling with both parents, you should also have a minor's form authorizing you to travel with them. This is a protection against human trafficking and really is important. If you get there without it, they can bar you from entering the ship. If you do not have the correct documentation, you will be barred from entering the cruise, and that also means that your money is gone. Again, another great chance to talk to your travel agent and make sure that you have everything that you need. Speaking of documents, on board, once you get on there, you're going to place everything in your safe, and this card will be the only thing that you need. Your SeaPass card, it will look different on each cruise line, is access to your cabin. It is access to order things, purchase things, spa services, and even getting on and off the ship in port. They keep attendance that way. It's extremely important, and they are a little pricey if you have to get a new one. The next thing that we need to talk about before you decide to book that cruise is, what is your cabin expectation? Most people that I have talked to, when they have not cruised before, really do not know what to expect for each type of cabin. There are four main types. There's an interior cabin that has no windows. There's an ocean view cabin that has a non-opening window. It can either be a round porthole window or a larger, what we call picture window. The most popular kind is obviously a balcony. It has a door, a sliding door that opens to an outside space and gives you that larger feeling. I will say that on most cruise ships, the interior is also smaller than a balcony cabin. And the fourth size, well, those are suites, and those are wow. They can be everything from 30 to 50% bigger than a balcony to something that rivals some people's actual homes, 2 and 3,000, 4,000 square feet with baby grand pianos. The sky is certainly the limit. And so are the prices on those. So let's talk about the size of those cabins. Let's be honest, you're going to spend most of your time outside your cabin in amongst the areas on the ship. So they do keep those cabins small. If you look at the sort of bluish box back there, the average US hotel room is between 325 and 350 square feet, whereas an average cruise cabin is somewhere between 165 and 200 square feet. So this diagram may not perfectly be to scale, but you're about half that size. Keep that in mind. Things are tight, you don't have a lot of space, and there's a lot of people that try to pack 4 people into one cabin. It is possible. It is not suggested. So let's take a look at an average cabin. This cabin that you see here is one of the Norwegian Cruise Line ships. And you can see there that there is very little space between the end of the bed and the wall. There is a space over by the couch, and you can see your balcony there. What you can't see is the bathroom and the closets behind you, and there really isn't much more space. If you look at the diagram on the bottom, you can see in general how those are laid out. One of the things that people need to realize once they finally get on the cruise ship or once they're ready to pay attention to it, there's a couple of things. First of all, booking ahead. Some people think that they can get a last minute deal. The problem with that logic is that cruise companies only need to lower the prices when their cruise cabins are not filled. If they only have a few cabins left, they're not going to lower the prices. They want to get the maximum. So typically, cruise lines front load their pricing. What this means is they start low to see what the demand will be. And as the demand goes up, there's a computer algorithm that automatically raises them. And to be honest with you, it can raise, let's say, if there's a lot of inside cabins going, the inside cabin can go up while the balcony cabin stays the same. It really depends. One of the things you can also do if you book your cruise at least 4 months ahead with a travel agent, there is the possibility of taking advantage of group fares. If you don't know what that is, please ask us because you can save an awful lot on your cruise that way. But it's not something that we can advertise. Please ask and we can help you with that. Another thing most people don't understand is that the final payment on a cruise is typically 4 months ahead. Sometimes on those shorter cruises, it's 3 months ahead. There are a few lines out there that it is due 12 months ahead. So it will impact your budgeting. And another thing that you need to know about timing is that you really do need to arrive a day before your cruise. So if you're planning a vacation that only has 7 days, really you should plan for a 5 or 6 day cruise. The problem with coming in the morning of the cruise is if your flight is delayed, you won't make it. If the cruise is leaving at 4 p.m., that means that you need to be there at the cruise terminal by 2. So if it's leaving by 5, you need to be there by 3. It's sort of like the airlines. If you don't check in at the airport, at the cruise port, on time, you will not get on. So if your flight is coming in at 12 and it's delayed 2 or 3 hours, you're waving goodbye to that cruise ship. Let's talk about a few things about life on board, things that people typically ask me about. How do I know what's going on every day? Well, there's a daily planner. Most cruise lines are still passing this out, at least to some degree, in paper form. But most of the cruise lines have also gone to a version that is on an app. If you do not like apps or it's a little bit small for your eyes, ask for the paper. Even if they don't pass them out, they will give you one. Something that is a bit different than what people may see on TV, you eat when you want and you play when you want. You can do a set dining time every night at 5:30 or every night at 8, but you don't have to. It's not really what you see on TV. And to that end, the captain's table on most cruise ships is not something that actually exists. So I've had a few people ask for that. Some nights may require dressy or even special clothes. If you like getting dressed up, yes, there are certain cruise lines that it's sort of that cruise line's personality. If having to throw on pants for dinner bothers some of these gentlemen, then guess what? We'll find you a cruise line that doesn't require that. You don't want to wear a dress or a skirt? Yes, we can make sure that you don't have to. Another thing that people sometimes get wrong is that Wi-Fi and calls are not the same on a cruise ship. Although things are changing at this moment, calls from a cruise ship are extremely expensive. And I mean not a few pennies different. Some of them can be very expensive. As we've already talked, Wi-Fi is expensive. You may or you may not be able to do Wi-Fi calling depending on how many people are on the Wi-Fi at that time. So please make sure that you make arrangements for how you're going to call people or contact them. And the last big issue that I hear is people are worried about seasickness. I hear stories about how they went deep sea fishing last year and got very sick. I happen to be one of those people that I cannot turn around or read in a car for more than a few minutes without feeling nauseous. With almost no exception, I have never really felt seasick on a cruise, and I've taken more than 30. The reason is those ships are so much larger than the waves that they slice through them instead of bobbing over them like a deep sea fishing vessel would. They also have special technology, stabilizers to keep them from rocking and rolling in those waves. I promise you, it is not what you think. However, if you're prone to that, you bring the Dramamine, you bring the Sea-Bands, or I can help you come up with a few other natural remedies. And finally, a ship's glossary. These are terms that people have confessed to me confuse them a little bit. The front of the ship is called the bow or the forward, and the back end of the ship is called the stern or the aft. And that leads us to the two sides, port and starboard. It's easier to remember than you think. If you can remember that the word port and the word left both have 4 letters, you'll always know that when facing forward, port is on your left. Now, sometimes people will ask me to have a cabin on the port side because they want to be facing land when they pull into port. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Sometimes weather or currents or who's already in the port or the shape of the pier can affect which side can pull in. It's about a 50-50 shot. The next term is called a tender. And if you look at the diagram there under the word port, you see a little red mark. Those are bright orange or reddish colored small ships. They have their own engine, they have some facilities. They use these as lifeboats, but they also use this in cases where the ship cannot pull into a pier, either because the ship is too large or there's already other people there. They can load you into a tender and bring you into land and then bring you back at the end of your day. The next term on this list is a little silly sounding. It's a muster drill. A muster drill is something that before COVID was really a pain. What they would do is at a set time on the ship, they would say everybody on the ship must go to their muster station. This meant everybody on the ship was trying to move at the same time. You would have to go to your muster station. Everybody is assigned one. It could be on a deck, it could be in a restaurant, it could be in a theater. And you would be told that this is where you would go in case of emergency. And then they would go over all of the emergency protocols, everything from where to go to how to put on a life jacket. COVID did have one good thing. Now we have Muster Drill 2.0. So instead of standing or sitting around with a bunch of people in a crowded situation, now what you do is you watch a video either on your phone or on the computer, and you have to certify that you watched it. When you get on the ship, they will ask you to go to your muster station sometime in the next few hours. At some point, you report there. You will check in with the captains at that muster station. They might ask you, did you watch the video? They might ask you, do you know how to put on a life jacket? They may quiz you on what deck you're on. But as long as you can say that you're all set, they will then check you off and let you go. It's a much smoother and much more efficient process now. The next 2 terms are embark and debark. Most people, when they hear the word embarkation, they know that's when you're leaving. So when the day that you're getting on the ship. Debark or debarkation is just the opposite. So debarkation day is the day that you come back and you have to get off the ship with your luggage and go home. The next term is the word excursion. An excursion is something you do in port that you probably paid for. You can book excursions to go ziplining or ATVing or snorkeling off a catamaran or taking a cooking class. The options are almost endless. You can book these directly with the cruise line, and they will promise not to leave port until you are on the ship. You can also book these with a guaranteed company. And what I mean by that is that the company guarantees that you will be back to port on time to get on the ship, or they will pay you for your inconvenience, penalties, getting you back to where you need to be. Please do not just book any old thing, because sometimes people make mistakes and that ship will not come back for you. The final term that is up there is onboard credit, sometimes referred to as an OBC. An onboard credit is money that you get to spend sometime when you're on the ship. A lot of them have to be spent before you get off the ship. So this might be something that your aunt gives you for Christmas. It might be something that the cruise line offers you to encourage people to book. And oftentimes it's something your travel agent will have access to in order to have you book with them. I will tell you, travel agents have more access to these onboard credits than the websites do, because they know that the websites, they don't have to give them to you. So in the end, Kidd Travel aims to send you on your cruise prepared. We want to give you the information that you need. You're always welcome to ask questions. There's no limit on the questions. Email us, call us, we'll take care of you. But we're also going to send every client out with goodies for their cruise. So you can see the large white envelope right there. And when you get that a few weeks before your cruise, some of the goodies that will be inside are things like lanyards. You do need a lanyard with a waterproof pouch on it so that you can keep your SeaPass card and anything else that you need in there. And some people confess in the beginning that they think they're going to look silly with a lanyard around their neck until you get on board and realize that everybody has one. You will also get, you can see those blue Kidd travel tags there. We're going to give you a tag, one for every person, for your suitcase on the airplane. We want to make sure that if something happens to your suitcase, it finds you quickly. The items there in the middle are waterproof luggage tags, but these are different luggage tags. When you check in for your cruise, they're going to give you your boarding passes for the cruise, but they're also going to give you paper luggage tags. And when you get to the port, they expect that you attach these to your suitcase, and then you hand your suitcase off to the porter and pray that your suitcase will get to where it needs to be. The reason I say that is because paper tears. And if it is humid or if it is drizzling or raining, that paper tag can become detached from your suitcase. So these waterproof pouches right here have a steel ring, and they will make sure that your luggage tag goes nowhere. It will tell them exactly what cabin to deliver your luggage to. So these are just some of the things that we try to make sure that you're prepared with. There may be other things. The last item that we always give people is our Know Before You Go cruise guide. This is a collection of all the tips that we've gathered over the years from our personal experience or from our clients, and we will give it to you, but we'll also give it to you if you ask for it, whether you're a client of ours or not. We want to see people comfortable with cruising and enjoying it, because honestly, that makes us happy. So if you are watching this video and you would like a copy of that cruises guide, no obligation whatsoever, we will gladly send you one. If you have a question about cruising, we'll answer it for you. You can give us a call at that number there. Again, my name is Dawn Kidd and I'm extension 1. Or you can access our webpage, kiddtravel.com. You can get my email address there. And if you have a pen handy, you can also write it down right now. My email address is dkidd, so DKIDD, at dreamvacations.com. Get in touch with us. We will send you that cruise guide, and then we will promptly get rid of your information so you never have to worry about an unsolicited call, email, or something arriving in your mailbox. We don't do that. We really prefer to respect our clients. So, once again, this was Dawn Kidd with Kidd Travel, and we love our cruisers.